My name's Jessie Herbert. We'll get started. I'm sorry I can't see you. I hope you can see me. And hi, Sharon. Thank you for being here. I actually want to share. I was really excited to visit Rocky Boys School a few weeks ago, and may have met some of you. And I work with the University of Montana with the program called We Are Montana in the Classroom, and I'm really excited to introduce Annie Belcourt and Lauren Small Rodriguez, who are here today. Thank you for coming in. Here today to share about public health. And so any questions you have, please type them in the chat box. And Annie and Lauren, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right.
For having us. Okay, are we ready to start? So we're actually going to start with a video. And hopefully everything works out in the tech world and it'll play. So we're going to start with a short video and then we'll start our presentations. So thanks and welcome.
As the author John Steinbeck once wrote, I'm in love with Montana. For other states, I have admiration, respect, recognition, even some affection. But with Montana, it is love. Families in Montana have relied upon wood stoves to heat our homes for many generations. Wood stoves can be a wise and economical way to heat your home. For many families, having a wood stove is also a wonderful and memorable aspect of family life. Many people are aware of how wood stove smoke can contribute to outdoor air pollution. However, people do not always realize that wood stoves can also be a source of pollution within our homes. Young children are still developing, and early exposure to poor air quality can negatively affect their respiratory health. Asthma, chronic breathing problems, and difficulties recovering from cold or flu can all occur more frequently among children exposed to polluted air. Researchers at the University of Montana are studying how exposure to residential wood stove smoke can impact the respiratory health of children. Our research team is working to promote the use of best burn practices and simple tools such as wood stove thermometers and moisture meters. The hope of this project is to reduce the levels of wood smoke we breathe within our homes and to improve the respiratory health of our children. This introduction video is the first of 3 videos aimed at helping you use your wood stove efficiently while reducing wood smoke pollution within the home. The second video in this series provides recommendations on how to prepare your firewood before it is burned in your wood stove. The third video provides recommendations on how to optimize wood burning within your home. In addition to these videos, you will also be provided with individual instructions and written materials to help ensure you are using your wood stove efficiently and safely. These tips will help you save money, time, and reduce wood smoke exposure within your home.
Trying to see which one's the best way to start.
All right. Do you want me to go here?
Yeah, there we go.
Excellent. Here we go.
Alrighty. Hello everyone. Oki Nistu Natanaku Amanisiaki. So my name is Annie Belcourt, which is also, I gave you the Blackfeet term for my name, which is Otter Woman. It also translates to Midaboge in Hidatsan. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself today, and also about a little bit about the University of Montana and our study that we do on air quality. So you're able to see some of our video that we had. And we have a couple of projects I'll tell you about today. And then I'm not sure how to advance the slide. But,
Oh, sorry,
so this slide, though,
There you go.
if we can go back,
down.
okay, great. So this is a photo, actually, of me. I grew up on the Blackfeet Reservation. I graduated from Browning High School in 1992. I'm the third of 8 children, born to Gordon Belcourt and Cheryl Baker Belcourt. I'm Mandan Hadatsan on my mom's side, and I'm Blackfeet and Chippewa on my dad's side. I grew up on the reservation. I attended Star School, so this is dating me. Star School is no longer a school, but at the time we had combined grade classrooms, so we were first and second grade, third and fourth, that sort of thing. At the time, I had never met a psychologist, never really knew that there were careers in science that could happen, but I've been very fortunate, and I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. I liked school growing up, but like some of you, it was sometimes a little hard, it could be boring at times. So my hope today is to tell you a little bit about my journey and the things that made it exciting. So this is a photo of me at home. In the background, you can see a little bit of the mountains there. This is a dress that my great-grandmother made for me, Kay Homegun, and then I will advance.
Yeah, you can just roll this down one, and it advances.
Great. So as I mentioned, I went to Browning High School. I did well at school academically, but like many students, throughout Montana, throughout many areas, in rural areas and urban areas, sometimes I struggled outside of school. But the key was finding mentorship, finding teachers who really cared about what was happening in my life, and also visiting the University of Montana. I came here for a summer program, and I just loved the campus. And it felt like a safe place, a place I would be welcomed, and I loved that. Science and writing were something that really I was drawn to. I found that they were, in some ways, a saving grace for me. Chemistry and physics were classes I took in high school. I took creative writing and reading, and those led to some of my interests that I'll tell you about today. I like how I'm not doing that right.
That's okay. I can totally take over.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
There we go.
So these were some of the keys. So I'm a psychologist, so I like to think about what are some of the things that help people behave in healthy ways and help people live, and what kind of decision making happens within their lives. So for me, I'm also interested in development, and I have 3 children. And
sorry.
Oops, we can go back one.
Yeah.
So the keys to my success as a scholar were really having stable parents, safe home, having access to traditional and ceremonial ways, having an extended family. I'm trying to juggle there. Having good role models who really helped me think about my future and think about the things I would like to do with my life. And culture and storytelling were a big part of that. Okay, so college life. So this was a big shock for me coming to the University of Montana. I had never lived in an urban area. I'd lived in really rural areas my whole life. So the first year was a bit of a culture shock, but what I found was that it was also a really exciting time. It was a time I could meet new people, have new expectations, new options, new everything really. The key to kind of succeeding within that was to find a few good friends and forming a new sense of normal and community there. So I discovered psychology, and I discovered Native American studies, and I found mentors who really encouraged me and believed that I could become a good scholar, and then later a scientist, and that's what I'll tell you about today. I was able to be successful within that, and I finished my PhD from the University of Montana in 2006. So, professional updates. So I am one of the Native faculty members here at the University of Montana. I'm very proud of that. I was promoted last year to associate professor from assistant professor. I was selected by Harvard, actually the Harvard School of Public Health, as an environmental health fellow, and we'll tell you about that project and some of the work that we're doing. And I've been able to be invited to really do some pretty incredible things, to present internationally, nationally, present at state meetings. This example is from a meeting that I presented at, and that some of my photography was actually featured in, so that was really exciting. And my kids, in the video that you saw in the beginning, had a couple of my kids have cameo appearances in. So today I'm going to tell you about a study, and we can move forward, about a little bit about our air quality study, but first, it's important to think about who we are as people and what makes us successful. So personally, I've got 3 daughters. I have a daughter at UCLA right now. She's a freshman in film. I have a first grader who's not a freshman in film, but she's studying some on film actually. And then my daughter Chloe, who is a junior here in Missoula. This is a model that I think is interesting, and it's an interesting model in terms of health. One of the things I teach here at the university is American Indian health issues and health disparity issues. This model talks a little bit about the way I think about it, and the way that I think others may be curious about, thinking about how we are healthy on these different domains, from physical to emotional to environmental to our relationships to culture, spirituality, language, and how all of those things kind of work together to make us healthy or to maybe make us have some challenges in our life. So thinking about that model is something we'll come back to in the talk. So the project I'd like to tell you about today, there's actually two. We have one that's on elders' health, on air quality, and then we have a kids project that's kids air. And what our goal is to improve indoor air quality for homes that have wood stoves, and that wood stoves used to heat their homes. So we focus on infants, toddlers, and elders because we know that they can have more struggles with respiratory health. Basically our study is an intervention study. It's a 5-year study. We work with tribal communities. We also work with non-native communities here in Western Montana. And the video that you saw was from our Western Montana project. We have an education component. We have air filtration units, which Lauren will talk about. And then we have a control intervention. So we compare those three and see how we can best improve air quality. These are some stoves, and these may be stoves that look familiar to your homes or your grandparents' homes. And what you see here is that sometimes these are vented well or installed by somebody who maybe was trained to do that. Or sometimes, like many of our families, they're our family members who install these stoves. One of the issues is if it's not properly ventilated, there can be smoke that comes into the home. And when we breathe smoke, that can be associated with health issues and health struggles. So this is a big model, a conceptual model of our study. I'll walk you through very quickly, but there's two components. We have a community intervention, where in some of our communities we are able to actually help build wood yards and to help with wood delivery services. At the household level, we're able to provide education, to provide filtration systems that we'll talk about, and then the overall goal is to reduce indoor wood stove smoke exposure, basically. These are a couple of things that we use in our studies. This is what's called a micropem, and I actually brought one today just so you can see. So it's a small...
Over a little bit so we can
This
see
way?
right in the middle. Yeah.
Is that better? So this is a micropem, and what it is a personal aerosol exposure monitor. What that means in real world is just basically an air quality monitor. So if you wear this, it'll actually look at what you're breathing in real time and see if there's like smoke that you're breathing or if there's any air pollution present. And then what we've done is we've worked with tribal communities to make these little pouches that you can see here. Mm-hmm. There's also photo examples from other tribes that we've worked with where they have talked about the importance of the abalone in their storytelling tradition and how the abalone is a keeper of fire. And so we've worked with the communities to really kind of incorporate the abalone shell within to our micropem holders. But we have a number of different instruments. This is one I'm going to talk about today. All right. So our educational intervention is based on a couple of different things. We met with community members, multiple communities. We've worked with communities in Alaska, in Idaho, in the Southwest, in Montana, and we conducted focus groups. And focus groups are really when you get people who know about the topic together in a room and they talk about their interests and they talk about the knowledge that they have and share that knowledge. And we also had key informant interviews, and these help inform the videos that we created. So digital stories are something that maybe some of you have heard about, or maybe you've even made some. They're just short videos that you can make. You can make them with your phone if you have a smartphone. You can make them with iPads or computers, and free software that's available. Digital stories are short, community-produced videos where you really are trying to promote public health information or really get people engaged in activism or to think about just their own story. And I think that's an important part. This is really kind of the backbone of what I try to do, is to think about the strengths within our community. So when I did my doctoral studies, did a paper that was on resiliency. And basically what that is looking at is what are the things that help us do well. We're kind of getting tired of hearing about all the problems that we may have, and we're wanting to thinking about health. How do we restore health? And for me, thinking about the community is really important. And I think for many of you out there, you know that to be true as well. Prevention and health really requires that we see, share, and invest in strengths and solutions. One of the biggest solutions are students, scientists, scholars, and community members who really want to promote health. So I want to talk a little bit about that. The key takeaway points, I'm kind of going through this quickly, but I think it's important for you just to kind of think about your life and your story. Think about what it is you'd like to do with your life. If the University of Montana is part of that, there's a lot of people who really want to help welcome you here. The students and scholars, like yourselves, are really key to the future of not only health, but also scientific advances. We can find mentors, we can identify, for yourself, you can think about what are your skills. What kind of things can you share with others or in your community, as well as in your academic journey. You can seek excellence for yourself. You can think about the things that you'd like to do and how you'd like to best accomplish that. You can do work that matters to not only yourself, but also your community, and to help improve health in that way. There's a saying that a mentor that I've had at Harvard who talked about you lift as you climb, and you bring people up with you as you make that journey. Maintain connections to home, and I think that's important. I'm making sure which way I go. And friends are important. And then also remember to be creative and use your creativity as a strength. And I think that's something that as Indian people, and as also just all students in Montana, we know we have to be really innovative to get by. Sometimes we have winters, we have ranching, we have all these different things that we're trying to navigate successfully, and it takes a lot of creativity and courage to do some of those things. So this is one of the things that we thought about. We were trying to think of an interactive way to get people engaged in this story as well as this classroom experience. So if you have access, which I'm guessing most of you have access, to Instagram or to Twitter or to Facebook or Google Plus or what have you, if you share hashtag #MyMontanaStory and maybe share an image, maybe share a short video clip of what your story is, of what your dreams are, what your educational hopes are. What is your story? What does your community mean to you? What are some of the things that we can help you think about in the future? And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to look at those and have a little raffle for prizes. I can't promise there's not going to be $1 million prize, but we can do something that's fun. So please note this down, hashtag #MyMontanaStory, and we will look forward to seeing your submissions.
Wonderful. So before we go any further, I'm curious if the students have any questions for you, or just a little brainstorming if they can maybe think about some of the things they might use for the My Montana story. So I'll give you guys Rocky Boy just a few minutes to go ahead and type some questions and thoughts, and I'm going to check in with Mrs. Kolstad over in Wolf Point and see if she has any questions for us.
I do not have, good afternoon. I do not have any questions, but I don't think we use hashtag. The kids, I don't think, use that. So, and I know they go on Facebook, but is there another way, like you say, Google? Is that email?
So
what?
Google Plus is similar to Instagram. They're all social media sites, and it's possible they don't use them. That's possible, and I'm happy to share my email so that people can email me as well.
Okay.
And my email address is annie.belcourt, so ANNIE .BELCOURT at the letter U, Montana, spelled out, .edu. And we can add that as well.
Okay, I know they use Facebook. That's a given, but all the others.
Yeah. Facebook is pretty common. Hashtag is just literally all you have to do is hashtag my Montana story with no spaces, and then it'll show those images. I know. I'm new to that.
Need to find somebody to show me that. But if we go on Facebook, is it called My Montana Story, or is it under U of M?
Well, we're gonna create a page today that's my Montana story, and
Okay.
and so people can post there as well.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Let's go ahead and move on, and then we'll.
Yes.
Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay with the questions and the
Okay.
typing, so
Great.
we'll just pause.
All
Pause when
right.
we have. Yeah, when we need to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we're gonna switch. All right, come on down.
All right.
Oh, hold on. We have one question. Come back.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm back.
So, is the air quality different if you use a pellet stove instead of a wood stove?
Oh, that's a great question. Typically, it depends. I mean, that's the best answer, right? So it depends if you have that vented well, and if you're using it according to the way that the manufacturers instruct you to do that, and that you're checking to make sure that your stove is cleaned well, that it's vented well, all of those things, then those things will improve the quality of your air in the home. If you notice that you can like literally smell smoke, then there might be an issue with some smoke exposure. So some of that you can kind of do like the sniff test to see if that's the case, but also just kind of some of those troubleshooting things. And we can post some more information about safety and stove use as well. Great question though, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Hello, Pepawana. My name is Lauren Small Rodriguez. My Cheyenne name is Nanomaet, which means a thunder and lightning woman. And I work with Annie Belcourt as a research assistant, and currently I am a UM junior graduate in the exercise science pre-professional program specializing in pre-physical therapy. So this is my presentation. Basically, what we do is we specialize in home, healthy home safety. And I wanted it to be relevant to high schoolers for, you know, if they're home alone, what safety precautions that can be most helpful for you. And also if you have siblings, if you babysit, I was going to ask you guys, raise your hand if you guys do babysitting for siblings or your cousins, and I'm sure, you know, a lot of you do. It's a great way, you know, to learn these safety precautions in case of an event where you would need to react. So go ahead and change to the next slide.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to give you a brief bio of me. So I was raised most of my life on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation located in Lame Deer, southeast Montana. I'm an enrolled tribal member there, and I went to school there. After high school, I went to St. Labray. After high school, I then enlisted in the Coast Guard, and I was enlisted for 6 years active duty, and I really enjoyed that. And so another aspect that I like to bring on upon students is that you can go a non-traditional route to college. You know, you can do, you know, a military route to help financially give you that boost to go on to college. And that's what I did with my life. You know, it really has helped me be stable, have income with the GI Bill, and pay for the majority of my college expenses, and my family, their care. So while in the Coast Guard, I was straight out of high school, and I did search and rescue. I did that for 3 years with the helicopter, and I did search and rescue operations, and it was a really exciting time. I know us as Native people, and I was an athlete too, it gave you that sort of rush to go and to help people, and that's what led on to me on into the university level of helping, of giving a public service of health awareness, and now I'll be going into physical therapy. So so after the Coast Guard for 6 years, I was also the first Northern Cheyenne female to be enlisted, so it was of high honor for my tribe to have that honor. So as you can see, it has UN Junior Pre-Professional. So I will be over here. I will be applying for the physical therapy program. It's a very intensive program. They only accept 20 applicants, and there's approximately 60 to 70 in the program, so it's very hard to get in. So my hope is to apply here at the UN. They have a really great PT department, and as well as Washington and Seattle, in California, various places in California, and in Colorado. There's a really good PT school there. And let's see here. Go ahead and do the next one. So with this, I want to have you guys familiarized of these different these tools that you should have in your home. Have you guys heard of a carbon monoxide alarm system? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm. You guys can just type in your.
You can type
in your answer.
Yes or no, or if you guys have one or have heard of one. They're really good to have, and they're super loud. I was gonna bring one from my home, but it was funky and it kept beeping and I couldn't silence it. So they're really good to have, especially if you're if you're home alone, and you're cooking something and the stove's on or something, that alarm will go off, and especially for gas stoves. Also, learning how to use the fire alarm, that's really handy, and it's good to do testing, once a month. And there's a lot of YouTube videos for you guys to check out for that. It's very easy. You just hold for a few seconds and make sure it beeps, and then press it again, and it should stop. So those are really good to have. And also a fire extinguisher. What I have in my home is a portable fire extinguisher. So it's right here. And basically what it does, it encapsulates a small fire, especially a stove fire. And I will show you different the steps on going to stop a fire. I think it's important, for teens and for all people, having sort of education on that, because it's easy to get worried and not know what to do and just call, emergency, when you can do that, as well as try to treat that as well if you can. If you're confident enough. A lot of it's being confident. A lot of it's having that education. So go ahead and do the next slide. Okay, so here's the easy steps. Okay, so this is going to be a big red fire extinguisher. It's a lot different than this foam spray, but it's the same aspect. So what you do, you would pull the pin, or you pull the cap of that portable one, and you would aim at the target of the stove fire. You squeeze down on it, but what you would do is you squeeze to the base of that fire, so the base of that stove. So you would go to to a hot pot or something that was fire. Then you would sweep side to side motion. So that's really safe for you guys to know, in case you guys are just spraying anywhere. It's better to spray right at the base, right at the bottom of that fire, and then do a sweeping motion. And it's really good to have. I was an auxiliary firefighter as well in the Coast Guard, and that helped me learn. I didn't know how to put out a fire if there was one, and so it's good to have, in your toolbox. Go ahead to the next one, yeah. Okay, and this is for, kids. This is for your little siblings, your little brothers, little sisters, little cousins, that are around in the home. It's good to have surge protectors. You see that little surge protector right there? Not surge protector, but plug-in cap. Those are good to have. In this circumstance, they should have 2 in there and should unplug that. Mm-hmm. This is really easy, and it's very common, for little kids to grab wires and to bite on them And I've known some people that have had that happen where they have a electrical burn on their mouth, for permanent, and it's sad, and this could be prevented. So it's good, if you see, if you're in the home, if you see wires out, tuck them in, make sure it's as safe as possible for these kids, because they don't know, and it's important. So as with Annie Belcourt's, with her presentation that she spoke about with the air purification, I'm going to talk about different types of air purifiers out there. This one right here is the Honeywell HEPA air purifier, and I have one right here to demonstrate. And this one's mine. I really like having it with me at home. It's good to have. I have two young kids. I have one who's 7 and one who's 18 months, and they have some breathing problems, especially with Missoula. We were categorized as one of the worst pollution right now, and we're trying to get that resolved. A lot of it's from forest fires, so a lot of wildland fires in the summer, and that causes the smoke to concave into the valley where Missoula is. So in the meantime, I always keep my HEPA air purifier on most of the time. So about 17 hours a day I keep it on in the home, just because I want my children to breathe well, and to not have so much asthma induced coughing. So let me see if you guys can read this. Okay.
I can zoom in on it.
Oh, can you? Okay, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, where do you want me to?
Just where there's going to be triggers down below.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Where the writing is.
Oh, I see what you did. Like so.
Yeah.
How about like? Oh.
Okay, yeah, put me out. There you go.
Okay.
Okay. So here's triggers for air. Why you would need an air purifier in your home, and that would be for for dust, for pollen, for pet dander. There's a lot of people that have dogs. I have a dog. For mold, that's a big thing, especially in your humid areas of your home, in bathrooms. Seasonal allergies is a big effect with needing clean air. And as I said before, for VOCs, which is smoke particles, volatile organic compounds, and those pose the most hazardous risks, where there's tiny little particles in the air where you can't see, but once they go in your lungs, it can cause detrimental effects with your health, long-term effects. So these are good to have. Having a HEPA air purifier is a little bit better of other filter purifiers, and they're also cost effective. They're financially, they're not too expensive.
I have a question from the students.
Okay.
Does the HEPA filter out black mold?
That's a good question, and no, it doesn't. There's different types of mold, as you know, and once you go towards black mold, that needs a whole process where it has to be covered up, and you need to have special different types of purifiers to then go clean, cut the area out. In a lot of circumstances where there is black mold present in homes, you need to evacuate that family, and it takes a big process to be able to get that out. So yeah, it's a big process with black mold, and it is common. So good question. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so these are the different types of air purifiers.
I'm gonna put you back on
Okay,
screen.
perfect. Okay, so these are the different types of air purifiers out here. There's the pre-filtered, which is the washable one. That's the one that's, the cheapest. It does, help, but it's not the best. There's medium filters, and then there's the HEPA, which is the one I have, which is more cost effective, and it does help a lot. There's also customized ones. Charcoals is also a good one, which is like a dark charcoal base, and it kind of collects all the dander and the dust and everything in there. With any filter, you have to, change it out every, 3 months. It depends what different ones. It can be the washable ones would probably, bi-monthly, so every 2 weeks. And then on to furthering, to get the best air, you probably need, the negative ion generator, which is a heavy duty one, very expensive. And then you go on to the purest air. So these are good ones to know, so there's different types of air purifiers and different ones out there, and it's good to have one in your home. You feel a lot better with it on. So just some education there. Okay, so here's one that's very common. I thought it was very relevant because I do this sometimes too, and it's not good to teach and to do it at home. And this is proper reaching in your home for high areas. So what do you guys see is totally wrong with this? If you guys want to write that. Okay, for one, this girl is on a portable chair. So it's collapsible. It's not sturdy at all. So, and she's about 2 feet away from the cabinets, and reaching, a plate, to warm something up. So this is a really wrong way to do it. Or even picking yourself up onto and grabbing something, you can easily fall and get all your silverware and, heavy pots and pans on you. You can easily fall down, and it's, it can be a serious accident. So the best way, for proper reaching when you're at home or you want to cook, you want to grab something to warm up, get a sturdy chair or a stool or a small ladder, place it right on to the base of the bottom cabinetry, so you have some support there, so in case it does wobble a little bit, it won't tip over. It should stay pretty flat and flushed in there. And then go on to as high as you feel most comfortable and most safe, and grab what you need to. So this is important, especially for teens who are alone in their home, and who just basic safety tips to have. Like I said, all these tools are very important to have in your toolbox, so you can carry on. And if you do want to go after you graduate, go live by yourself, you have these tools that, hey, this is how I should keep my home safe. So these are really good safety tips, and let me know if you guys have any questions. Please, chat away and just ask me anything you have, or anything about the military, or anything about about the program I'm studying. There's not many of us, natives in the HHP program, Health and Human Performances. So it's very vital that you guys, if you guys have some kind of interest in the health field, that would be awesome, and we need a lot of more natives getting into it. It's a very cool program, and you feel a lot of good, take away from it, from helping somebody. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's open it up to some questions for both of our presenters today. I know we'll give you just a couple of minutes, and Mrs. Kolstad, if you'd like to chime in as well, please feel free to.
Okay. I'm Sharon from Wolf Point. I do have a question from Annie, or to Annie. Do they have any information on, instead of freestanding stoves, do they have one for the inserts that go into the old brick fireplaces that are wood burning? Do they have any kind of a filtering or any data on that, or how to install those effectively?
That's a great question. I am not, so first of all, I'm not a wood stove retailer. So I have no, I have limited knowledge about that, so remember, my background is a psychologist. So the reason I got involved with this is to try to look at how do we improve behaviors around the use of the stoves, not as much thinking about the stoves themselves. So with that disclaimer, I will say there are differences. A lot of it really depends on how these things are installed and how they're maintained over time. If they're vented properly, if they're, they have a good airflow, sort of the dynamic is, that there's not like a lot of wind that's preventing the smoke from venting. Those sorts of things. If those things are installed properly, those things can all help to reduce the air smoke in the home, or the smoke in the home. So there's some differences between those things, definitely. If it's a built-in wood stove compared to a freestanding stove that's used. One of the things with some of our reservation communities is that there isn't as much regulation on how those things are installed. And so when that's the case, and if you have just a friend of a friend come in and install it, or an uncle, or
you can figure it out, but
yeah, or it technically works. But one of the things that we see commonly is that we see stoves that are vented outside the side of the home. And that can be troublesome in a couple different ways. One thing, you can have creosote buildup that starts to damage the pipe, and then you could have leakage, and the smoke will kind of begin to vent into the homes. So there's a number of different factors that I've learned a lot about, actually, that I didn't know prior to this study. A couple of the other things that we know help are, one, a lot of basic things, but not using wet wood, making sure that you've properly seasoned your wood over time, making sure that you store your wood properly so that it's not getting wet continually. Because as we all know from being around campfires, the more wet or green your trees are, the more smoke you're going to have. And that's definitely the same within the home. Other things that we can do is we can use what we call moisture meters to check the moisture and to make sure it's below like 20% moisture. So there's a couple things that we can do that are pretty simple and cost very little to be able to do and to improve that. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah.
Well, it's along that line, but you made me think about, we have poplar and cottonwood trees, and that people who burn that, and they do burn that around here, it leaves a lot of, it's not really a clean burn. I mean, there's a lot of ash left over, and a lot of that smoke goes in the air, and then people go for the harder woods if they can get it, like by Missoula, and bring it back. So yeah, I was just thinking about that too as you brought it up, the effects of burning softwood like poplar and cottonwood.
It's a great question.
It's not a question, it's just a thought.
It's a really important topic, actually, and one of the things that we struggle with a lot, because the different communities we have different access points to different things, to burn. And within some communities, they have access to coal. They'll burn coal in the homes. Mm-hmm. And which is not recommended, so I'll say that. Yeah. And it really creates a lot of different issues there. And other issues, they may just have no trees, so they're burning driftwood, and that can create other issues. Yeah. If there was an oil spill and they're burning driftwood, there could be metal exposure. So some of the studies, we're trying to look at some of those different factors and at least study it from a scientific perspective and see if there's ways that we could intervene to help improve those things. Because we do know, the woods burn differently, and that's very true. And the softwoods you're describing, do react differently.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Rocky Boy, do you have any questions?
I should say, Rocky Boy, Shane Sangre said to say hello. He wish he could be here. He works in our office, so he definitely misses being at Stonechild College.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
Are any of you guys interested in going to the University of Montana? You should.
If those students are interested, could they contact you
Yes.
for either more information or maybe even if they're here next year, because some of them are seniors in this class, stop by and
Completely. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we have a whole office in our building. We're in the Skaggs building. We have the Native American Center of Excellence, where we have
That's
folks
good,
who are
too.
there, you know, 8 to 5 every day. So who are also Native people who are really welcoming. We have the American Indian Student Support Center. We have the Native
Information
American.
student, yeah.
Yes, they have all kinds of resources actually. We also have the Payne Family Native American Center. So we have our own dedicated building for a lot of us for Native student use.
It's really nice.
It's really, really nice. And we have a planetarium and study space. So we have a lot of resources that we have dedicated for students. And I think if you want to talk to us.
Yeah, you guys are more than welcome to ask me any questions. And I have a lot of degree plans, and I can do a lot of advising for health and human performances. So it could be, you know, if you want to go into pre-med, I take a lot of classes in pre-med, pre-physical therapy, physician's assistant, athletic trainer. We have an athletic training in the same program. And I think there's another one. But anything in that health aspect, I can definitely show you the guidelines that the UM has for graduation, and can definitely help you. You know, help you pick which classes is great to start with as a freshman in college.
And so I mentioned my background psychology, so I can tell you a lot about psychology. I can also tell you about the different units within our college. Within our college, we have pharmacy, the only pharmacy school in Montana. We have physical therapy, social work, public health, and biological medicine. So I can tell you about those. And there's also Native faculty throughout most of the colleges at the university. So if I can't help you find the answer, I can find somebody who will.
Forestry too. There's Native faculty in forestry,
Definitely.
environmental science. Yeah, that's good.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today.